And fantastic to start thinking about the visions that are being set out now for COP30 as we go straight on to our next panel and hear more from the COP30 high-level champion, Ioschpe. This is going to be a fireside chat with Marcelo Furtado, setting out what that vision can look like. So how can Brazil use the COP to become a springboard for an NbS-based economy and a socio-bioeconomy? What's the role of the private sector in that bioeconomy? And how do you advance the NbS and bioeconomy agendas? Welcome on stage, Marcelo Furtado, Head of Sustainability at Itaúsa Institute, and Ioschpe, COP30 high-level champion. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Just a correction, it's Head of Sustainability at Itaúsa. The Itaúsa Institute is part of Itaúsa Holding. Dan, thank you very much. Here we are again.
Yep.
And we were here yesterday, and I know that some of you were here yesterday. So of course, in respect to the audience, we decided to do something completely different than what we did yesterday. So yesterday we spoke a lot about COP30, and today we're not going to talk about COP30. I'm joking. We're going to talk about love. And as you know, love is very related to the famous Cupido, the guy that has this arrow and shoots the arrow. If it's a gold arrow, sparks love. If it's a lead arrow, sparks hate. We need a Cupido that uses recycled wood arrows to spark nature-based solutions. And here in the audience, we either have investors or entrepreneurs trying to promote the nature-based solutions. So my question for you is, in your role as champion of COP30, what do you think you can deliver to them?
Well, I think the best that we can do, and we just heard this great panel before us with initiatives, new mechanisms, new ways to bring money. And I think there is a lot of guys out there in large financial institutions, mid-size, small size, that are searching for projects, and they have commitments, or they are willing to have commitments, and we have to support them to come up with those commitments. And then they need to locate the projects. So we need those platforms to work fairly well and to make sure that we have a very diverse group from the two sides or the many sides of this equation. And for instance, one very important actor relating to Brazil, but also to part of the world, is BNDES or IDBs, as was mentioned here before, World Banks, etc. And I think there is a lot of willingness to be very, very, very active on this subject, because as we have been talking, I think, yesterday, and we heard again, this is very much about business, about socio-economic sustainable development and the road to the future on how business and economic activities will need and are performing. So there is amazing opportunities for the financial side, and of course there is amazing opportunities for the projects and the investors or the entrepreneurs that are coming up with the solution. So I think the job here is to expand as much as possible this table from all sides, bring everybody in, and share as much as possible the platforms and what's going on the two sides, and of course help support initiatives like those two that I'm very optimistic and eager to support. I think the TFFF is an amazing idea. Let's see how you guys get at the end of the drawing, but seems to be very close. I want to be in the picture if possible on the cashew nut. And I'm very happy about this kind of mechanism. And I think as I landed in this role, I think my first sentence to Anatoni on a car in Brasilia was, what about carbon credit markets? And I was very happy when I met Rafael some 3 or 4 weeks ago in Brasilia, and he was also signaling a strong work on that. And from then on, most people that I have met around the world also want to talk about it. So we need to bring that back, because it's very good for the world, and it's very good for countries like Brazil that have amazing projects, a lot of potential credits to come up. So let's work on those things. I think we have very good routes to do this Cupido work.
So, okay, now that you addressed the matchmaking, let's talk about the real date. A lot of people know that we have 157 days now to COP30, but Brazilian leadership, and I think Rafael and André highlighted that, you need to have the near goal, but we have to remember that the Brazilian leadership of the climate debate will continue all the way to November 26. So we actually have a whole year and a half to make these deals happen. How do you envision your role helping make this date happen and become the celebration of real deals, which I hope, as Tony said, he'll get 5 billion by November, but then with a whole year, maybe he can get another 5 billion.
I agree, and the 125 billion I think is very important, because that would mean that this spread, available spread, is sizable enough. Let's say $2.5 billion or so. But if we grow more over the next 12 months, then of course you always have this increasing expenditure portion for the projects, which is very important. I think the carbon credit also is something that, of course, we need to move every day, put brick by brick, but we have to be also realistic. It's a fairly complex mechanism, and it's going to get better as we move forward. And I don't think it's going to end for any of us in the end of the Brazilian presidency. I think especially you guys that have been working on this for many, many, many years. So we will continue. I think it's important to think about the Brazilian time frame, but we have to be conscious that all of these processes are fairly midterm, long-term. Some are very short-term, but most of them are not. And we have to be constructive to continue moving forward. And let's make sure that we don't do anything that would be nice for the Brazilian cycle, but that would be negative for the continuation of the process. And I'm personally very engaged on that to make sure that we are consequent on whatever we do, and seems that we are all moving in that same direction.
And I think this dialogues quite well with both your choice of envoys, because yesterday, talking to Marcelo Bear on the bioeconomy, he's very keen on advancing carbon credits in the bioeconomy. And Patricia yesterday, when talking about the SB COP, mentioned the important role of carbon credits in the finance track, which dialogues with all the other bioeconomy, nature-based solutions, and other pieces of work. And I see Paula here that is actually leading that effort. So in case you want to know more, all the people that I'm mentioning, they're sitting right here today, so do talk to them. But I think then you mentioned that COP is also an opportunity to promote Brazil as a solution country. Yeah. And therefore get the world to understand that this investment flow to Brazil is not a nice thing to do, it's a business opportunity. And you are a business person, and you know what it is to be an entrepreneur, and you know what it is to be an investor. So the final minutes we have, I think it would be great if you could give some advice, both for investors in the room, what they should watch for, and for the entrepreneurs in the room, how they should prepare their pitches to the investors.
Well, I think we all have to look at this issue from a sort of, again, mid-long-term perspective. There is geopolitical issues going on at every country every now and then, but that's not the real story. The real story here is that there is a lot of projects that are feasible, that are economically and social and sustainability speaking very positive and science-based, makes a lot of sense. And you guys need to pay attention, of course, to this environment here, and talking now about Brazil, because we have scale. Sometimes you have amazing solutions, but you don't have scale. And when you look around here at all of the areas that we may talk about, forest, agriculture, cattle, energy production, increasing value chains, I think was mentioned in the previous, I think Rafael mentioned in the previous panel. For me, is a very important subject. I'm a person from the industry. We need to add value in countries like Brazil. So all of these projects, they need scale. They need time, they need technical solutions, but they need scale. Brazil has all of them. And we seem to have a good coalition of views from governmental side, non-governmental side, that decarbonize and to have a low carbon or no carbon process is the way forward. So that's what we need to do. That's what we need to focus. And again, I think I mentioned in the beginning, BNDES, we need to make sure that we bring in all these amazing guys that know this from a long time, that have a lot of studies, that know all of the sectors and can help mapping. And that's very important for all of you as well, because you can use these tools and knowledge for your best suit to see where you want to be and what areas you would like to work more, and work with people that has a lot of knowledge of the ground, of the regulations, of the rules, so that rather than, you know, complaining about things that as we usually do, let's move forward, let's get the best people, the best institutions to support the work, and let's roll out.
You know, we at Itaúsa, we're an economy environment investor, and we believe that Brazil should aim for an economy that has higher productivity, and it is positive for nature, climate, and people, because only with a prosperous economy we can pay for mitigation, adaptation, and loss and damage. So I think in this room we have all the people that are really moving forward on this. But yesterday when we were here discussing, they showed that research that you mentioned, and the research said that Brazilians are people that care and people that are pragmatic, but we need to merge these things so we can finalize, conclude things. So my share of advice is, I think we have plenty of initiatives already, so we're not really in need of new initiatives. What we are in need now is to implement and act on the existing initiatives. And I think, Dan, that's a great job you're doing with all your envoys, and we thank you very much.
I just want to make one comment for the truth here. I would love to have indicated the invoice. They are amazing people, but that is an indication from President André and Anatoni, and I'm very happy that we can work along, and they will really amplify this work. But I have to be honest with you, I was not in the position to do that. That's a presidency of COP and the Brazilian government, but amazing idea, as well as the circles. The more we can engage people, the best. Of course, we need coordination, but that's the easier part, and for sure we'll get it done. And to your word, implementation, of course, that's how we go. I think we talked about this yesterday a lot. Mutirão, let's implement, let's move forward, and let's think that this is not a only race to Belém. This is a continuous process. And just a final point regarding this Brazilian aspect, we need to get as close to the world as possible. We have a lot of solutions for a good point in time, for a good amount of time. We stayed a bit out of the world debate. But the world is expecting solutions from us. Sometimes they know better than us some of our assets that we insist of not being happy about them. So let's focus on those assets. Let's talk to the world. Let's show what we can do. Let's get this advice from abroad as well, and let's move forward implementing the climate action agenda.
Thank you, Dan.